Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to be joined today by Gary Leaming, Public Affairs Specialist with ODOT, of course, Oregon Department of Transportation. Gary, good to see you.
Hey, Craig.
Thanks for being here. So, obviously, you guys are very busy this week. What's been the biggest challenge? Is it snow? Is it ice?
Just getting the equipment to the right places. Obviously, each one has its own peculiarities. And also just getting the public managing those expectations of slowing down and driving to the conditions is probably the biggest thing. Of course, we had that issue earlier this week holding traffic in California that turned into about a 20-hour delay southbound, and that was tough. Of course, managing expectations, public wanting to know when can we get going again. I know California holding traffic and Reading face the same issue, but sometimes Mother Nature does what it wants.
Yeah, and you guys having to work with your California counterparts, because so much of the road between Reading and south of Ashland is mountainous. How difficult is that for you guys to manage that? And you guys are able to use salt, and I know that does help, correct?
Oh, immensely. So, yes, we have a great partnership with California. We talk to them on a frequent basis. Before the beginning of winter, we have what we call a snowflake meeting that includes OSP, ODOT, Caltrans, and CHP, just to make sure that everybody knows everybody as far as who to call and any kind of protocol changes and so forth. So very beneficial. So the idea behind that is to manage the interstate not from Ashland to the border, but from Ashland to Reading. And vice versa. So if they have problems, they can call us like they did earlier this week. And if we run into problems with the weather, we can do the same thing. I think the challenge for the public and for us too is how big of a storm is it? How much help do you need? It started out as a temporary hold for a couple hours, and then it just got bigger from that because of that blizzard that we had, in the Siskiyous and in that Northern California corridor through Mount Shasta and the Sacramento River Canyon.
Yeah, and obviously it's a very fluid situation when you're dealing with Mother Nature.
Right, and so the idea is, I think they got slammed on that grade between the Klamath River and Wairika in particular, and then and elsewhere. And so what happens is if you get a big dump of snow and people aren't prepared, traffic stops, it continues to snow, the traffic can't get going again, and then the plows can't work. And so it's self-defeating. It just kind of, pardon the pun, snowballs from there.
That makes
so
sense.
That's why it's important for the public to be prepared, have chains, know how to put them on, be ready to hunker down in case of a closure like that or in case of a bad crash. Keep yourself comfortable. So a lot of those self-help ideas that we talk about, water, food, blanket, those come into play more times than not. So it's important.
All right, very good. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have much more with Gary in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Gary Leaming from ODOT. Gary, we were talking, of course, about the Siskiyou Pass, and that's one of the few locations that ODOT can salt. Was that a huge help with this storm?
Well, it didn't really play into this one, but I think it was indicative to how we keep things open in Oregon. I think we're in the 5th year of this salt pilot project, and what we've found throughout that is that the use of salt as another tool in our toolbox has really limited the number of temporary holds, chain requirements, people getting out and having to chain up, as well as the delays and the backups that we've had prior to using salt. If you recall, prior to the pilot, California is a salt state, so you have traffic coming up into Oregon, and because of the different conditions and the different level of service, they'd be running at 65 miles an hour. They'd get to the border and stop and have to chain up. And of course, anytime we put a chain requirement on, traffic would back up like we saw earlier this week. And so as a state, we are now going to be using salt as a strategic tool, according to our Highway Division Director, and only on his approval outside of the pilot program. So for instance, earlier this month, or I guess late last month, the Portland area had some issues. We did send some salt from Ashland, a couple of trucks to help with the grade. There's South Salem, where they had a chain requirement, and they just couldn't get out of it. And so we sent a couple of trucks up there to help them with the de-icer to help break that mountain pass open, or that grade.
Sure. All right. Now looking forward, we're hearing talk of possible flooding this weekend as all this snow is going to melt. We may have rain. How big of a concern is that for you guys? I know I'm not trying to get into the prediction business, but flooding?
Yeah, that's a concern. I mean, obviously we have a lot of snow on the ground, higher elevations, or at the lower elevations. And so when we get this system come in, if it's warm, we get a quick melt. The ground is already super saturated, so we could see some flooding. That is a concern. How much, we don't know. But of course, the usual areas along the Coquille, the lower Coquille is always a problem area. And so it just depends on the snow level. You know, in December of '64, we had that snowfall and a warm rain come in, and we had massive flooding. So we'll just, we'll be as ready as we can. Our crews are working hard, and if that's the next pitch, then we'll take it.
Hopefully they're resting now as things calm down in between. Good to see you.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for coming. Stay with us. We'll be right back.